Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. For those that don't know me, my name is Matthew Henry, and I am a landscape photographer. And obviously, I do make YouTube content. Now, today's video is actually not specifically about landscape photography, but it is. Obviously, you clicked on the link and saw the title. It is about the DJI Mavic Mini, and it is my one-year review of having the Mavic Mini. So today, I'm going to go into why I bought it, what I like about the drone, what I do wish DJI would improve in the next version, and as well whether I'll consider buying the new Mini 2, which is due out, and of course whether I'd even recommend the Mini at all. I'm not going to go into great depth of specs. There's obviously other videos out about that, and the Mini has been out for more than a year. So let's get into it. Why did I buy the Mavic Mini? Now, as mentioned, I'm a landscape photographer, and I was looking to get a drone to add to my footage, because as nice it is just to have a camera or my GoPro to take video, the intent was to add a drone to give me new perspectives and add new awesome and creative B-roll, which I do think makes the videos more interesting. So I'll link to one of my videos here. It's actually the first video in which I used the drone to add to my YouTube videos. So check that out when you get a chance. Now, I should mention the Mavic Mini is the first drone I've actually purchased and used. So I don't have an Air 2, or any of the Mavic Pro line, or a drone from another manufacturer. So that's also was one of the benefits and one of the key reasons why I bought the Mini. It was definitely at a price point that would allow me to try the drone and see if it actually was something I was going to use. So definitely happy with that. And of course, the Mavic Mini is only 249 grams, which makes the drone actually quite light and easy to carry in my camera bag. Now, of course, the 249 grams is actually a magical number in most countries, including where I live in Canada, which brings it under a lower set of regulations, which does, I think, make it a little more useful. So definitely another key benefit of the 249 grams and why I actually bought that drone over one of the other drones. Because you tie that in together with the reason why I want to make sure I was going to use the drone. I also want to make sure I could fly it in spots, especially where I live near a major metropolitan area. So this is the DJI Mavic Mini in its full deployed mode. And as you can see, next to my iPhone 10 XR, I believe it is, it's basically the same size without the arms extended. So it is a great drone. It is extremely light. And in fact, the controller is heavier than the drone. Just to give you an idea of the weight, and this is actually not fairly heavy, so it is a great little drone. So obviously with its size, it's great to easy to carry. Now I am still using the case it comes in. I should actually try to find something a little better to store it in to make it easier to get in and out. But the case is perfect. It does carry everything I need. So it is awesome in that respect. So it's great in that respect that the case is usable. So these batteries do give you a 30-minute flight time, which is extremely useful. And for the most part, you really just need one battery. Now, I did get the Fly More kit, as I showed a little earlier, and that is simply because I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to be artificially restricted. And if you're going to get one battery, you might as well get the kit and the charger. So that's what I did decide to do, and I'm actually glad I did, because there have been a few occasions where I've gone into the second or third battery. But normally I'm just using 1 to 1.5 batteries when I'm out. So the drone does offer 3 modes. Cinematic mode, which is the one I use most often, which allows you to get nice, smooth footage. But sometimes I do kick it up into sport mode to try to get to a location a little faster. And then P, which I believe is program mode, although I'll put that correct term here, which is kind of in between. But most of the time I am using the cinematic version because I'm not looking for jerky footage. Now, originally when the Mavic Mini came out and with the DJI Fly app, it didn't actually allow you to control the video beyond AV mode or exposure, using exposure compensation. So you didn't have manual control over the shutter speed. Now, there is a firmware update that does allow you to use it, but I will admit I usually just keep in the AV mode and then do the exposure compensation and as well as the lock of exposure. And the reason is really to get full advantage of the manual mode, you would have to get ND filters to get the correct shutter speed depending on light conditions. And when the Mini first released, there were no ND filters. There are now ND filters out in the market, but I have not yet added that to my gear. The Mavic Mini does also take photos. Now that does allow you the manual exposure as well. Now I tend not to use this for photos. I have on occasion. Part of the reason is it does only shoot in JPEG, but the photos are high quality, or a good enough quality, as you can see here. Now this drone looks like it is plastic. Now I will say I have crashed the drone a few times, sometimes myself flying into a tree branch that I shouldn't have, or it has drifted, as you can see here, and hit the side of a canyon wall while I was photographing a waterfall. Now, I have not actually damaged any of the equipment or the drone structure itself. These blades, though, are very delicate, which can get chipped. Now, they're not very expensive to replace. I have a set of replacements for about 12 bucks, so I do keep those on me. But other than that, I will admit, this drone is durable. It may be lightweight, it might be made of plastic. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I use this drone for B-roll footage and to add to my landscape photography videos. I don't use this as a sport drone or things like that, so I'm sure you could seriously damage it if you flew it at full speed into the side of a wall or a tree. But my crashes have been at low speed. So I will say, for my purposes, this is actually a durable enough drone. So I do love that, and helps obviously keep the weight down. Now, the Mavic Mini does come with 4 quick shots, which I actually don't use a lot of. So we do have the quick shot droney. We have the rocket, the helix, and the circle. Now, I tend to only use, out of those, either the rocket or the droney, unless I know I'm in a nice open area for the circle or the helix, because the Mavic Mini doesn't come with any real obstacle avoidance sensors. So you definitely need to be careful when using those quick shots. So I tend to just fly the drone manually, occasionally using a quick shot, but they do have them. Now, the nice last thing I really enjoy about this particular drone, it does shoot 2.7K video, so it is obviously higher than 1080p, which actually, considering this is a first generation Mini, it actually does produce some nice video footage. But this does lead into what I would love to see improved in the Mini 2. The one thing I would really like to see them improve upon in the Mini 2 is going from 2.7K to 4K video, because obviously more and more things are going 4K, and I think that is an obvious upgrade. Now with that, I would like to see them to be able to improve the video file quality, anything that they can do. Now I will say I find the video of a good enough quality, but anything in that area that could be improved upon, I'm sure a true videographer can actually pick out some improvements. Now this does lead into picture profiles. Now there are no profiles on the Mini 2, and I actually don't really think the Mini 2 will have any profiles like S-Log or things like that you'll see on the more advanced cameras or coming out in the mirrorless or DSLR world. But it is a nice little wish list to add something, especially to be able to sell stock footage and add a higher level of quality. Now, of course, the big reason for 4K is, I don't know about others, but personally, I tend to watch actually a lot of my YouTube videos on my 65-inch TV. YouTube, there's an app on there, and having a higher level quality of footage would be good. So I'm looking to offer that for those that watch my videos. So hopefully others are looking to do the same. Now, one of the things on the non-video side, on the photo side, Unfortunately, the current photos, although you have manual control, you actually can only shoot in JPEG. And I do think one of the big upgrades they need to make on that side is at least allowing us to shoot in RAW. RAW as a photographer then allows me to actually make that photo true to what I see and not just what the camera thinks that I'm seeing. Another key improvement would be seeing it switch to from the enhanced Wi-Fi that it currently has to the OcuSync 2.0 technology. Now, I'm not an expert in this, but my understanding is the OcuSync technology is much more reliable. And I have had a few instances where even though when launching the drone, I've had good connection while flying it, I have lost it, I've lost some connection or control, which is why I think, one, I drifted into the side of that canyon, and second of all, and while flying at the Carbide Mill ruins, that I did have a hard time controlling it because it just, even though it started with the signal, it did lose it. So I'm hoping the OcuSync 2.0 will improve that. So this is the Mini controller, which actually is a nice size. The battery life on this actually is quite good. And I forgot to mention, it does charge the phone while you're using it, so it is a bit of a battery backup. But it fits in my pocket, which is nice. Now, what I think can be improved upon is, so compared to the Air 2 controller, you have to actually unfold these arms down here, obviously then adjust your antennas, find your phone wherever you have that stored, and then you need to fiddle with it to get your cord out, connect it, in this case my lightning port, and then you have it connected. Compared to the Air 2, where basically you pull it at the top, which is your antenna, that cradles your phone that you're using, then you just connect the controller to the phone, and I think it's much quicker. And I also think it's better to have the video screen up on top. Now, with OcuSync 2.0, that would then also allow you to invest in the smart controller, which has the built-in screen, which obviously has the added benefit of not having to fiddle with that. You don't need to use your phone in case you're using that for other video. But more importantly, I think it's just going to be much quicker. So I'm really hoping they do improve the OcuSync 2.0. That does give us those two options as well. Now, I think the last improvement we could really see, as much as I'd love to see more sensors put in there, obstacle avoidance sensors, I really don't think at the price point and the size and weight right now that we'll see that in the Mini 2. But ideally a few more quick shots would be nice, including a little more control of the settings that we have in there. But that would be some nice improvements. Now, one of the weaknesses I do need to mention is, given the weight of the Mavic Mini, it actually does have a hard time in high winds. There's been a few times I've had it out flying and obviously getting a wind warning. Now, I've heard others have lost their drones due to the high wind situation. Thankfully, I have not. I do tend to bring it back when I get it. Now, sometimes I do gamble, but this is a weakness of the Mini, in part probably due to its weight class of only 249 grams. But hopefully one of the things that DJI does actually improve upon is the capability in the wind. Obviously, it is one of the things I would like to see, and I could actually see being very valuable. Now, for the most part, I've been okay. So it's one of those improvements, yes, I would like to see, and it might help me decide to buy it. But it's definitely something you need to be aware of and not be surprised. But it is a 249 gram drone, so there's only so much they can pack into this at this stage. Now, one of the things I would love to see DJI do with the Mini series is potentially even make a Pro series of it, where yes, it'd be more expensive, but we would start seeing much more of the technology we see in the Air 2, Mavic 2 Pro series, and maybe even what's about to be released at some time in the near future, but the Mavic 3. Never know, it's unlikely, but one can hope. So there are 4 things that I would love to see in the Mini 2. The first is the 4K video. As mentioned earlier, it's kind of where video production is going, and I think that would be a great update. The second thing is OcuSync 2.0. Obviously that will give us a better reliability of the signal, but also allow us to use the smart controller for those that have it or like to get it with the integrated video screen, or at the very least an updated controller like the Air 2, which I think puts the smartphone in a better spot. And obviously that is also much quicker to use. The third thing I would like to see as a photographer are raw photos. Now, JPEG photos are nice, but adding a little more and giving complete control of the editing process is something as a photographer I would very much appreciate. And I think the last thing the Mini 2 needs to have is better wind resistance. There's only so much I think they can probably do, but you know, I'm not an engineer, so hopefully they can find a way to improve the ability of the Mini to fly in stronger winds. So those are 4 things I'm really hoping the DJI Mavic Mini 2 has in store for us. I would definitely recommend even the Mini for anyone who's looking to add something to their vlogs, or just if you are a family and wanting to take some different photography besides what's coming from your cell phone or potentially a GoPro. The Mini is actually a great investment. It is lightweight. It is not that expensive considering the price points of the other drones. And when the Mini 2 comes out, there will definitely be some great deals on the Mini as they try to get rid of that stock.
Time goes by, I change my mind about you and I.
So thanks very much for watching. And if you got value out of today's content, please subscribe, like, share the video. And if you have any questions about the Mini, please leave them in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer them. And until next time, bye for now.
I'm letting you know this heart's on the edge.